Glenn, first of all, congratulations. Why are you doing it?
Yes, thank you. It's an important milestone. We listed on the AltX 3 years ago. We served our time on AltX. Now we need to move to the main board, really to improve our viability to the institutional shareholders. The institutions have probably also moved away from AltX onto the main board. So we need to improve our shareholder mix and institutional support.
And in terms of the shareholders that you're trying to target now, I mean, you're saying you are unable to get these guys to invest in your stock on AltX, and they are likely to come on when you get onto the main board.
Yes, I think that's correct. Some institutional investors, in terms of their approved mandates, are not allowed to invest in AltX. So hopefully now there'll be a much wider market for us in terms of offering our shares to the institutions.
And in terms of the take-up of your shares on AltX, would you say the trading has been disappointing to the degree that you have found it unviable for you to continue trading on AltX?
No, it worked for us, AltX. AltX is great. Without AltX, we wouldn't be here today. So I'm a great supporter of AltX. As I said, we've been there 3 years. We had a lot of volumes, a lot of support from the small investors, unfortunately not from the institutional investors. So we need to grow the business. We need to raise further capital, which we'll probably raise next year. And raising further capital, you need institutions as shareholders, and you need a viable PE as well. We found on AltX the PE ratings are a lot lower than on the main board.
Now, of course, movement onto the main board entails greater costs, because I think if I remember the cost right years ago, the last time that I did the cost, there was a significant difference in terms of the cost of listing on AltX and the cost of listing on the JSE Main Board. And of course, the demands on you as a company listed on the main board are far greater, entailing also greater costs. Was that something that you thought about before you moved?
No, it hasn't really been a factor. If you look at the fixed costs of being on AltX compared to the main board, it's a small number in terms of the differential. It's not even a factor that we needed to consider in the move.
And now, onto the main board. What's next? In terms of, you say you potentially looking at raising capital, but when you get on the main board, of course, your radar screen also arises, and potentially that suggests that perhaps you have greater plans for growth, and also potentially you may be a target.
It's all about growth. You're right there. We've grown the business in 7 years. This year, probably revenue close to R1.5 billion. We need more growth. We need to grow our aircraft maintenance business. We need to grow into Lanseria, and we need to grow into Africa. For all this growth, we need to raise further capital. So it's about growth and about profit margins as well, which we hope to sustain.
How much are you potentially looking for, and when likely would that be?
That's a little bit early now. We'd probably look to raise capital early next year, I'd say.
Okay, and how much potentially?
Well, it's going to depend on the growth opportunities. Right now, we're seeing growth opportunities everywhere. We've seen it in the domestic market, the foreign market, and the aircraft maintenance business as well.
And around Africa, where do you see opportunities?
We're excited about Africa. We have we fly to 3 African routes now: Zanzibar, Livingstone, and just recently also to Mozambique, to Maputo. So we'd like to grow into Africa. That's probably going to be one of our focus areas over the next few years.
Yeah, but we do know that flying into Africa is a very expensive business. I remember one time we went to, I think it was Dar es Salaam, and also went to West Africa, and the cost of flying to those destinations was far greater than, say, for instance, the fare I'd have got if I had said I was going to London. So flying to Africa is great, but there are huge costs there. How do you see yourself being able to challenge that?
That's correct. It's more expensive to fly to Luanda, 3 hours away, than it is to London. They need competition. The airfares are high in Africa only because there's no competition. Once they let the low-fare airlines in, we'll drop the airfares 50% and grow that market 50%. So it's not expensive to operate into Africa. It's expensive to fly because there's no competition.
Let's talk about the World Cup. First, where are you tipping for the title?
I think the semis, maybe hopefully Spain beat Germany, and the other semi, I'd like the Uruguay-Holland. I'd like Holland to win. They've lost twice, I think, 74, 78. It's their turn.
Indeed. Let me say congratulations, because that's exactly how I'm seeing it. But anyway, let's see the result. But demand during the World Cup, how has it been? The fears were that you guys had priced yourselves out of the market and people were not going to fly. What are you seeing on the ground?
Fares this year, June, were a lot lower than last year, June. You could fly to Cape Town for 300 Rand to Cape Town. We offered specials of 300 Rand last week, I think. So it was cheaper to fly this year than last year. We had a great June. The World Cup support was strong. Our final numbers were about 15% up year on year for June.
Would you say the volumes have been at a record? For June?
Yes, it's our strongest June ever.
It's your strongest June ever?
Yes.
And July?
July's not looking great right now, but we'll see. The South African business market needs to start flying again. They've had a 4-week holiday, so hopefully they will start flying in about a week's time.